Test.
Was this straight? No. Boy, everyone just violates him.
Can you hear?
HDMI cable එකක් තියෙනවා. මම ගෙනාවා cable එකක්. තියෙනවා HDMI. දැන් මේකෙන් HDMI එකක් දෙන්න ඕන කිව්වා නේද උඹට?
මේක මොකක්ද?
මේක මේ C box එක නේ මේකෙන් HDMI cable එක මේකට දුන්නා නම් හරි.
අවශ්‍යකම් තමයි
මගේ
පේන්නේ.
ගාවත් ඇත්තේ.
පේන්නේ නැහැ.
අපිට ඕනේ USB එකක් දෙන්න sound card එක.
මේකෙන් නැහැලුද ඒගොල්ලන්ට?
USB එකක් නැහැ.
අපි මේක live stream එකක්
හරි එහෙනම් හරි. එච්චරයි තියෙන්නේ. ඔව් එච්චරයි තියෙන්නේ තාම. අපි තාම ඇවිල්ලා නැහැ. තාම පටන් ගන්න කියලා.
මේකනේ intro scene එක නේ.
දැන්
සද්දෙත් ඇහෙනවද කියලා අහන්න එකේ. සද්දෙත් ඔඩියෝ.
සවුන්ඩ්ස් ඇහෙනවනේ.
හඳ කරේ.
හරි.
Okay. Screen over there, yes. Very good. Excellent. Okay. Very good. That's excellent. Is the tea brewed yet? Or is it? Yeah. Is it brewed yet? I was very well trained. You can't just drink tea straight away. It has to be. It's brewed. Okay, ready to go. Crikey. Excellent. Okay, so we all ready? Okay. It's also my pleasure as well. Period. That's a very good thing to do, yes. So would you like to do that now? You getting the matches? Yeah. I'll get it over there, yes. Very good. I remember many years ago, just a little anecdote, that when I would go and travel to Sri Lanka, I was very well respected. And so on one occasion, we were talking with my fellow Western monks about the oil lamp, especially the one with the chicken on the top. And we could never find out what the chicken represented. So we asked a couple of professors, and they didn't know. And so I was going to breakfast with the former president, Hindu Rajapaksa. Was it Mindy? Yeah, it was Mindy, yeah. And so, because I was a Western monk, very well respected, I could actually ask him, so you're the president of Sri Lanka now, so what does that thing mean? You know what he said? He said, I don't know. So even the president didn't know there at the time. The oil lamp with the chicken on the top. What does the chicken represent? But anyway, one day somebody's going to let me know. But anyway, I know what it represents. It's obviously representing just the worshipping of the Buddha by offering light to the Buddha. And the light represents wisdom. And the wisdom is, it's the job of myself and others to give that offering of wisdom, especially the wisdom of how to live a good life and how to meditate and how to be very peaceful inside. I just want to make sure everyone is happy. It's okay to sort of put your hand up and tell the monks that it's too close or it's too loud or I can't hear at all. If I don't get any feedback from you, then I just don't know. Okay, I think that's good. Because one thing with my upbringing that many of you know, that as a young man, that even though my father died when I was only 16, I was still smart enough, even though I was a very poor family, smart enough to get a scholarship to a good school, that when I became a Buddhist, before I went to university, by reading books. I realized that religion, spirituality was important in life. But why should you just follow the religion of your parents or of most people in the country? Why can't you make an informed decision yourself? So what I did, I got my first school prize for A-levels. I was only 16 at the time. And when I got that prize, I asked my teacher, what should I get? And he said, get more books on mathematics. And I said, no. I can get those books from the school library. I wanted to get some interesting books, because I couldn't afford to buy the books myself because my father had already died. And so one of the books which I got was the book on the different religions. And one was the book on Buddhism. when people say, why did you do that? I said, because spirituality is important, religion is important. I thought I should do market research first of all. If you buy a car, what car do you have? Is it Toyota or is it Toyota? Just because your dad has a Toyota, does that mean you must get a Toyota? You got one already. But sometimes you feel, no, I want to get something different. And so you do research what you can afford and what's useful for you. So that's what I was doing, market research. And so I actually became a Buddhist. I thought, this is how I thought, how I believed. But the problem was that I didn't know anyone else in the whole world who was a Buddhist. None of my family were Buddhists. I didn't know where to go. So when I went to university to study, and studying theoretical physics, what happened next was they had a couple of days, they had a big hall in Cambridge, and every student could go into this hall where all the different societies and clubs you could join. It's called like Societies Fair. And one of the first of the clubs which I saw was the fox hunting club. And I thought, I'm not going to join that. It was Cambridge fox hunting. I said, nope. I went up to the counter and I said, I'd like to join. I didn't even ask what they did. I just wanted to join. And the young student behind the counter said, no, you don't have to join. Just come and see, test it out, whether you like it or not. I said, look, I want to join. He said, no, just come along for the first few talks and then see if you like it. And I was very firm. I took £1, which was the annual joining fee, which was a lot of money for me in those days. This was in 1969. 1969. And then I put the £1 down and said, join me. I demanded it. And so he joined me up. But the person behind the counter became a lifelong friend. And I'm going to tell you a few stories about it because it's interesting. Especially at this time, because on Sunday, we have a special day on Sunday. Do you know what it is on Sunday? Halloween's Day. Do you believe in ghosts? I'm going to tell you a couple of stories about them in a few moments, good ones. But anyway, this gentleman behind the desk, Bernard his name was, became lifelong friends because he was also a theoretical physicist. And he was also a Buddhist. And the other thing we joined together with was in psychic research. We actually went to ghost houses to try and find them, to try and discover what was going on. So anyway, Bernard eventually became Professor Bernard Carr of theoretical physics at Queen Mary College in London University. But I didn't know just how close he was to the famous Professor Stephen Hawkins, but he was featured in the movie. There was a movie about Stephen Hawkins, I think it was called A Theory of Everything. And one of Stephen Hawkins' close associates was Bernard. And so he was featured in the movie. And he said the only time in his life he was invited to a movie theatre in Leicester Square in London to walk on the red carpet next to Stephen Hawkins for the premiere. So this was also a Buddhist, a close associate of Stephen Hawkins, one of my close friends. And what he never told people for years, but it was also, you can look it up on the internet, Bernard Carr, B.J. Carr, C-A-R-R, not only professor of theoretical physics, but was also for many years the president of the London Psychic Research Society, doing interesting experiments. And now, so this Buddhism is not just weird and flaky. It's got very strong science background from people like Professor Bernard Carr. I remember him telling me of this, what he called the flower pot levitation experiment. Do you believe in levitation? You're an engineer. Is levitation possible? How many people have seen things levitate? I need your help, he said. I want each one of you to start chanting Om. You know, the O-M. It's like a Hindu, Mahayana word. Namo was too long. So all these old English professors were in this auditorium going Om, 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 Om. If I'd have seen that, because I know English professors, I'd have burst out laughing. That he managed to get them to do this was amazing. But once they started started chanting Om, that flower pot started lifting up. It worked. It rose up into the air, and they filmed every moment of it. He succeeded. Now what really happened, I should actually just go back a bit. Afterwards, once the flower pot went back down on the table, he asked everybody afterwards, did you see that levitating flower pot? Even they had it photographed, videoed. Some of them said, no, it did not lift above the table at all. They said it stayed on the table all the time. And they showed the video with it lifting up. That's fake. It did lift above the table. But that was not the real purpose of the experiment. Underneath that table, there was a huge electromagnet. That was what's lifting the flower pot. But many of you know, if you turn on a large current of electricity, you hear the hum. There's a large current. And that's why they had to do the Om, to hide the trick. There was just a current. But the main purpose of the experiment was not to cheat people. Why was it that when that flower pot lifted, many of the professors there couldn't see it? And they denied it happened, even though it did. And this is the reason I tell this story, why Bernard told it to me. All of the things which we call evidence, we may see it with our own eyes. We may hear it with our ears. But if it's something which is too hard to understand, too difficult to explain, we deny it. We block it before it even comes to our conscious awareness. That was the whole purpose of the experiment, to prove as many weird things exist in this world. But we block a lot of it out because it's too hard for us to understand. And that's how the Buddha taught. The mind is the forerunner of all things. Once you know what it can do, it's amazing the sort of stuff which your mind can actually do. It's even like COVID and stuff. Why do many people get COVID and some people don't? Even though they've been exposed to the virus. Why? Your mind also has some power as well. And let me just tell you one of the stories, which actually shows you what you can do, not to be too afraid of bad diseases. At this particular time, first couple of years when I was in Thailand, I was not used to Thai food, especially in the northeast of Thailand. I remember, do any of you watch AFL football? You do? Do you support the Eagles or the Dockers? Eagles. You know the captain of the Eagles many years ago was this fellow called Ben Cousins. I know that because I was at a radio interview with him. And because the producer, this was in 6PR or something, the producer had a weekly show with Ben Cousins, at the same time that he was a disciple. He used to meditate. So he said, why didn't you come along? So I did. And when we went along to the 6PR Studios radio, Ben Cousins was there. And just to get us to warm up the audience, he asked, what's the worst food you've ever eaten? You know the worst food I ever ate? As a monk in the northeast town. These were villagers. It was very poor. And it was true. And my one meal of the day was a ball of sticky rice, glutinous rice. And on the top of that was a frog. Frog on rice. It was just like boiled. It wasn't sort of fried. It didn't have any salt or any spices or any garlic or anything. It was just like boiled frog and rice. That's for my one meal of the day, because that's all they had in the village. That's what they offered to the monks. So you had no choice, you had to eat it. And all you kids here today, please pay attention when you do your biology. Hungry that day. So that's a good reason you should always pay attention at school. You never know when it will come to your help. But anyway, going back to, it was a tough life as a forest monk in those days. It was tough, but it was inspiring as well, because you learned so much. Just in the previous house, we were saying that all the times that snakes would crawl on you, or they to a place like Thailand, the same as Sri Lanka. They said there was 100 species of snakes in the forest, 100 species. 99 of those snakes were very venomous. If they bit you, in big trouble. And the one which didn't bite you would strangle you to death. In other words, they were all dangerous. But none of those snakes ever bit me, or bit any of the monks I was with. Why? Do snakes eat people? Is that their food? Of course they don't. We're too big for them to eat. So, why do snakes bite human beings? They're scared mostly, yeah, that's the usual reason. So that's one of the reasons why, if you're not scared, that means the snakes won't harm you at all. People look out for them, make sure you don't step on them, make them scared. And then you'll be safe too. That is like life itself. Most human beings aren't dangerous. Because this is why someone asked me the question. They asked me the question, they were working as a girl, a woman. She was working as a fly-in, fly-out worker up north. And she said she was always very afraid of snakes up north. And I told them, because I saw this on the news, I have the internet news. They said it's not the, I asked her, what's the most dangerous animal in the north, up in the mines? The most dangerous animal to women are men. There's lots of sexual abuse up there. So don't be afraid of the snakes. Look out for some of those men who don't know the right things to do. She laughed at that, so she's not afraid of snakes anymore, of other things. But what I'm saying over there is you can protect yourself with some awareness and some kindness, and then animals never harm you. What about tigers? Have you ever seen a tiger? I once saw a tiger, and it was much closer than you are, Matanga. But a strange thing, I wasn't scared at all. When I came face to face with a big tiger, I wasn't afraid at all. You know why? Because the tiger was in a zoo, and there's big bars in front of me. But it didn't matter, you're not afraid of these animals. So anyway, little by little in your life, you learn just how to be wise and how to make sure you don't go to places which are dangerous. And little by little, you can find you always have people looking after you. Sometimes there's not ordinary people. I don't mind telling this story. I don't know how many of the stories you've heard, but this is another very true story, because I know the gentleman involved. I've been a monk now for 47 years. The first 9 years were in Thailand, the last 38 years here in Australia. And when I was in Thailand at the time, the Vietnam War was on. And so there were many Americans who were in Bangkok at the time. There was one young man, instead of joining the army, you could join the Peace Corps and do voluntary work, to try and help, put in roads or wells or other such things. And so, this young man, after 2 years working for the Peace Corps, he thought he would like to try being a monk. So that's what he did. He wanted to be a monk. But he didn't know how to be a monk. So he was staying in a hotel. He asked the concierge, what do you do to become a monk? And even the concierge didn't really know. But he said there was a big temple in Bangkok called Wat Bawon. And sometimes Western monks ordain there. So he said, okay, that's the place I'll go. And all that the hotel worker knew was to take some food in the morning for the alms round, the Bindabata, and then you see a monk, put some food in the monk's bowl, and then ask the monk, I'd like to be a monk myself, what should I do? That's the advice he was given. But you have to go very early in the morning. And so he went early in the morning, but it was too early in the morning, way too early. And so he was walking outside this monastery in the city, all closed up, didn't know what to do. And then this Thai man came up to him, and this Thai man could speak perfect English, and asked him what he wanted to do. He said, I want to be a monk. He said, you come too early. Be a couple of hours before the monks come out on their Bindabata, but nevertheless, said this Thai man, I have the keys, I can let you inside and show you around. So this Thai man opened the gate, walked in to the main hall, the hall like the Poya Hall. It wasn't an ordinary Poya Hall, but it was very old, and that was used for the ordinations of the kings in Thailand. In Thailand, kings and princes have to ordain just for a short time, to train in the religion. And then they would disrobe and then they would become sort of a prince or a king eventually. But anyway, so we led him inside, and inside the hall there were all these paintings. Inside the hall, the murals, just like in Sri Lanka. Have you seen those paintings inside the old halls? Do you know what they mean? Sometimes they're very complicated. You have to find out how to actually trace them. They're like a cartoon, but they don't go left to right. They go all over the place as you try and figure out the story for one of the Jatakas. But this Thai man knew everything. So much detail about these paintings. He even knew who sponsored them and why, because someone in their family were very sick or they died. So he showed them all those paintings, and the time went by so quickly. And after 2 hours, he said, you better go out now. The monks are coming out for alms round. And this young man did. I'll turn off the lights and close up. And that's what happened. And after a few days, this American, he was trying to learn all the chanting, the basic rules a monk should keep. But what happened was that the American couldn't really understand the monk they gave to train him. And he complained, haven't you got a better English speaker? He said, no, this is the best speaker in the whole monastery. What about that middle-aged Thai man who I met on the first day. And they said, who? The man who opened up the gate. No man can open up that gate. That's the royal gate. I know that if you ever go to Wat Mawan, I was told that straight. The only people who can actually walk through that gate is royalty. Everyone else has to use the side gates. And he said, then what did he do? And then he took me inside the main poiho. We don't know who's got that key. And not even, they took him straight to the abbot of the temple, who later became Sangaraja of Thailand, a very important monk. And that important monk said, this is all impossible, stop. And he got the monastery secretary to start writing all this down. Because the truth of the matter is, there's only, I think, the abbot and a couple of other monks have got the key to the main hall. And even the abbot did not know all the details of all those stories. It was weird. And then afterwards, they asked this Westerner, this American, well, what did that man look like? The one who opened gates he shouldn't have keys for. Who opened the hall when no layperson's got a key. And who knew so much about all those paintings. What did he look like? Have you ever been asked that question? I don't know what he looked like. I only saw him for a couple of hours. Well, tell me something about him. He was wearing old-fashioned traditional dress. Number one. Yeah, but what did he look like? And then he was, the American was scratching his head, and you're looking up, and he froze. That was him. That was a man who opened the door. They had a painting, a portrait, on the wall of the abbot's office. Because that particular man, the reason he had a portrait in the office, because he was one of the main sponsors of that temple. About 150 years earlier, he was King Rama V, one of the kings of Thailand. That's why he could walk through that gate. That's why he knew everything about the paintings there. Because he was there when they were painted. That was just like you hear in the teachings of the Buddha, someone who's going to become a monk, and heavenly beings help. The tsunami stories is of the crocodile. Are you afraid of crocodiles? They're really dangerous, they eat you. But anyway, this man, he would always in the morning on the way to work, the typical Sri Lankan, always take some bread and give it to the fish, past the lagoon. Give the fish a couple of slices of bread, make some good karma for hungry beings, and then go to work. But this one morning, it wasn't just a fish in this part of the lagoon, there was a big crocodile there as well. So he thought, oh, why not? He gave a couple of slices of bread to the crocodile. And then went to work. And that crocodile obviously liked bread, so came every morning for about a month or so. And then afterwards, the man went one morning, had the bread with him to feed the crocodile and some of the fish. But that was when the big wave hit, the tsunami. It was on the Boxing Day. And so he got caught up in the big wave and started getting carried out to sea. And he said that the force of the water was so strong, he couldn't sort of swim back. He saw it like a chair. He tried to grab onto the chair to keep him up afloat, but even the force of the current was so strong it tore the chair away from him. And then he saw a log of wood, and he grabbed onto the log of wood. And he could hold on to that, thank goodness. But then he noticed something very strange. Everything else was flowing out to sea, further away from the shore. But the log of wood was going the opposite direction. And it kept on going. the opposite direction until it was so close to the shore he could jump off it and clamber up onto dry land for safety. It's only then he could actually look properly and see the log of wood. What was it? A crocodile, yeah. Now sometimes, you know what Australian people are like? Some say, oh yeah, of course the crocodile would do that. If that man died, the crocodile would get no more bread in the morning. But I don't think that's why the crocodile saved his friend. The crocodile saved the friend because the friend was kind. A lot of times like that, you will find in life, if you're kind to others, it's like simple law of karma, it comes back to you. So, we're just getting through COVID time. Did you enjoy COVID time? Really not, why not? You didn't have to go to, actually you did have to go to school here, didn't you? No, yay! Do you like going to school? Yes, I know. Sometimes when we start to think, all of the time whenever there's any diseases or pandemics, is that good or bad? You know which one it is? Okay, I'll tell you one of the other stories. I wrote this one in one of my books. The king. Once upon a time there was a king, and the king liked going hunting. Chasing animals and killing them. Don't know why they do stuff like that. But, because kings are usually rich enough to get enough food from the supermarket instead of catching it themselves. But anyway, this king, he was chasing something. He had one of the fastest horses. And as he was chasing this animal in the forest, he cut his finger. And of course, being a king, they always have doctors and other servants following after them. He called the doctor over, look at my finger, it's cut. And the doctor took one look at it and said, okay, I just put a Band-Aid on it. And the king said, this is quite a deep cut, you sure it's going to be all right? You know what the doctor said? Good, bad, who knows? It's called uncertainty, a very important principle in Buddhism. Good, bad, who knows? So anyway, when they got back to the palace, the king had to call the doctor over to him again because the finger had swollen. And the doctor took it off, oh yeah, it's infected. So the doctor had to put some ointment on the wound and bandage it up. And when he finished bandaging it up, the king said, is it going to be okay now, doctor? And you know what the doctor said? Good, bad, who knows? That's not very reassuring. If I ask you, it's all stuff we've ordered from your company, the steel dad, is it going to come on time? And you say, good, bad, who knows? I don't know. It's not reassuring, is it? So anyway, the doctor the king forgot about it, but a couple of days later it was really hurting. And so when the doctor took off the bandage, they realized, wow, it's got very bad, it's all gone all black. It's gangrene. I'll have to amputate it. So the doctor had to amputate the king's finger. Do you think the king was very happy? All this good, bad, who knows business. That's enough for your stupid doctor. And the king threw the doctor in the jail himself and locked the door. What do you think about that, doctor? Remember, you know what the doctor said? He said, being in jail, good, bad, who knows? And the king said, that's a very, very dumb doctor. And a few weeks later, when the wound was healed, the king was out there hunting again. And this time, his horse was so fast, and he was really racing too fast, and he got separated from everybody else, and he got more and more lost in the middle of the forest. And he started wandering so deep into the forest in places where human beings don't normally go. But in there was the indigenous people. And they captured him. Because this was a special day of the year for them. A very holy day. They'd normally do an animal sacrifice. But this day they thought, wow, we've got a king. We can sacrifice him. And all the spirits will be very happy with us. That's how they thought. So they took the king and they tied him to a post, and then all the holy people came out. They're all dressed in beads and long hair, and they started the chanting. They started chanting. It's very special chanting. And they got louder and louder and faster and faster. And the head priest got out a ceremonial dagger. And they were about to cut his throat to sacrifice him. And then somebody saw that man had only got 9 fingers. So they said, stop, stop. He's not perfect enough as a gift to our spiritual guardians, because you can't give impure food. You won't even give impure food to me, would you? You give me the very best you can cook. Even the tea, I'm sure, is so delicious. You wouldn't give me bad tea, would you? And that's very good. So they had to let the king go. They could not give a sacrifice of an impure being, because he's only had 9 fingers. So he said, okay, we'll help you get back. So they took him back, the shortest path, to the city where he lived. And they let him go back into the palace. And there he told everybody what had happened. I only got saved because I'd lost 9 fingers. I lost 1 finger, I only had 9 fingers. So he went to see the poor doctor and said, Doctor, I apologize. If you make a mistake in life, always apologize. And say sorry. He went up to the doctor in the jail and opened up the door of the jail and said, you're free. I apologize. I should never have doubted you. When you said good, bad, who knows, I thought it must be bad losing a finger. But it was good for me. It saved my life. If I had all those 10 fingers, I'd be dead. But it was a terrible thing I did, putting you in jail. And you know what the doctor said? He said, it's a terrible thing. You put me in jail. Didn't I not tell you? Being in jail, good, bad, who knows? If you hadn't put me in jail, Your Majesty, I'd have been with you on that hunt. I would have been captured. And I've got 10 fingers. I'm in big trouble. So sometimes in life, when things happen to you, and you think, oh, it's very unlucky, someone's got COVID, or it's very unlucky I failed the exam, or it's very unlucky I lost some money, it's very unlucky that Sri Lanka lost a cricket. Did they lose a cricket? Is that good or bad? Who knows? Can I finish with one last story? Okay. This is quite a few years ago now, but I love telling the story. This was, again, to do with cricket. There was a big cricket match in Perth some years ago. It was between Sri Lanka and Australia. One-day international. And it was in the old cricket ground called the Wacker at the time, in sort of East Perth. But at half-time, lunchtime, a number of Sri Lankan boys, they came, I was in the temple in Nolamara at the time, and they came there and they said, Achambram, 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 Sri Lankan team are doing terribly. They're losing badly to Australia. They want some help from the nearest Buddhist monk. Can you give us some pirit thread? And I used to play cricket, I know cricket myself, so I've got 12 pieces of pirit thread from the temple in town. One for each man and also for the 12th man. Sri Lanka still lost. But that wasn't such an important game as I knew, because that was just a warm-up match for the big World Cup one-day cricket tournament held in Sri Lanka and India. And if any of you like cricket, you remember what happened in the final. Sri Lanka were playing in Australia in the final. Who won? Sri Lanka, yeah. And somebody showed me the newspaper the following morning. Your captain, Arjuna Ranatunga, holding up the World Cup, beating Australia. Oh, Sri Lankans were so happy. When I saw that photo, oh my goodness, what have I done? Around his wrist was my pirit thread. Australia lost and Sri Lanka won because this Australian monk gave all the pirit thread to the Sri Lankan team. And I kept that a secret for many years. Otherwise, I had been thrown out of the country myself. So some of these things are very powerful, but you have good fun and happiness with them. When you have good fun and happiness, do you notice I've been speaking for just about an hour now, and everybody's been paying attention? Does that happen when you listen to a talk in Buddhism? Usually. Sometimes it doesn't at all. That's one of the reasons I make sure that when I'm giving a talk, it's something useful, sometimes funny, sometimes topical, like not worrying about pandemics. I know, because of my science background, one of the biggest fears is also what causes a lot of deaths. Fear just weakens your immunoresponse system, which means you don't have the strength inside to fight diseases. And believe it or not, you just ask some of the monks, I'll just ask Lakshman to pick me up afterwards, he's going to become a monk. I'm one of the fittest monks, the most healthiest monks in that monastery. It's been years since I needed to go and see a doctor. Why? Because you have a good, happy, strong mind. And when you have a happy, strong mind, you can face anything in life. You can pass your exams easy. Do you have trouble passing exams at school? I don't know why this is, but I do remember about 3 years ago, before COVID stopped many of these things happening, that I was invited by one of my friends. He was a rabbi, Moshe Bernstein, his name was. The reason I became friends with him, because he said he believes in reincarnation. I always never thought the Jewish tradition believed in reincarnation, but his type of it does. And I became good friends with him. And he said that he was the chaplain at Carmel School in Dianella. It's a Jewish school. He said, can you please come to our school for an afternoon to teach how to lessen anxiety and stress, so that our kids, especially the year 12s, are going to do their exams soon. And they're doing terribly. So of course, I always go and help a friend. So I went there for the afternoon, taught them examination technique, meditation, how to relax. And then afterwards, went back to Serpentine, and I got this wonderful letter, not from Rabbi Moshe Bernstein, but from the headmaster, the principal of the school. And he said, "Thank you so much." And I checked in the papers afterwards. Carmel School got the top prize that year. The best school in the whole of Western Australia. Thank you for helping our kids. That's from the principal. It actually works. So, if you want to get really good marks in year 12s, get the Beasley Medal. How many Sri Lankans have got the Beasley Medal in West Australia so far? I say 1.5 because this one boy some years ago got the Beasley Medal. He used to come to the monastery. And as a result of getting the Beasley Medal, he got scholarships to Harvard University, at all expenses paid. And then there was another Sri Lankan, this time a girl. She got number 2. Didn't quite get the first prize. Pretty good stuff. There's another Beasley medalist, but he was the son of a Thai girl and a Western man that come to the monastery too. Pretty good. Do you want your kids to get Beasley medal? Why not? So it's not just being smart inside, it's how to use that intelligence in a good way. It's not just being sort of a good batsman or bowler, it's how you use those skills to do well in life, little by little. It's not just being a young girl, it's how you use all of that. There's just a couple of young girls at the previous house, and I told them the most amazing makeup. If you want to look really attractive, it doesn't cost any money at all. What is it? Smile. So if any of you want to save a lot of money and still be very attractive, you should do what I do every morning, 10 push-ups. You know my 10 push-ups? 1, 2, 3. Exercise your smarty muscles. Look, do you really want to spend time going out, have a friend who's always miserable? Do you? Of course not. So to make yourself more attractive, learn how to smile more. And number 2, to make yourself not depressed. It's a simple thing, but it actually works. You know, sometimes in the job, in life, you get a bit fed up. Find a mirror. Smile at your face and laugh. It means you don't take life as seriously. And it means it gives you a boost of energy. And if you have a difficult job to do, one of the sports I did at Cambridge was rowing, you know, in the 8s, not in the big time against Oxford, but I still did some rowing, keep myself fit and healthy. And one day, the coach on the footpath shouted out at me and said, "You're making an ugly face. Smile." And honestly, I decided, why not? So I smiled. And you know you had more energy to be able to pull that oar. It didn't hurt so much. You had more effort available. Whatever you do in life, smile while you're doing it. It hurts less and you have more energy. And you're more innovative. Okay, I'll keep on talking too much. So anyway, what would you like me to do now? Q&A? Questions? Or or no? Okay. Yeah, yes, okay.
Do you know the social feedback hypothesis? It's a theory in psychology where apparently, like, if you get people to like hold like a smile shape and rate cartoons as funny, they'll rate it higher while they're actually smiling than if you force them both around.
Excellent, yeah. It's true.
Yeah.
So if you get people to smile when they're looking at you, they rate you highly. Why not? It's true. Because that happiness, it means that what you're looking at, you're seeing it through your smile. And it works, it makes you more positive, more energetic. And you have a much happier life. These are very simple teachings. So these are very simple teachings. But actually they work. You know, sometimes you might feel a bit alone. You sometimes feel alone and just, you know, you may be just at home and no friends around. And sometimes you need someone to give you a hug. It's very difficult to get a hug, especially these days, because people say you've got COVID, you might catch something. So years and years ago, I developed, whenever you feel a bit tired, depressed, or you know, you're just about to do an exam and you're not really think you're ready for it, follow this exercise. Put your hands out like me. Right out. Good. And follow me, just bring them in. And in. Oh. Believe it or not, it works. You know, when you're hugging yourself, you know, it gives this basically signals to your brain.
Oxytocin, which is like the love hormone that also helps you relieve stress.
Yeah, indeed, yeah, of course it does. But you've got no one else to love you. Why not? This actually does stop people getting stressed out and depressed when they're kids. And also when they grow up. And they get more happy, more innovative. Look, this isn't just for kids. But I remember I get to go, as already mentioned, I go to some really interesting conferences and stuff. One conference I went to, believe it or not, was the 2019 World Computer Conference in Daejeon, South Korea, to give the keynote address. That's the first one. And I couldn't understand why they invited me. You know, because I'm not a sort of computer expert. But you know what? They not just invited me, they gave me business class tickets all the way from Perth to Seoul, a 5-star hotel. And afterwards, they enjoyed what I said so much, they gave a $2,000 honorarium to monastery. It's amazing. But when I got there, they said, what are you doing here? Because I'm not well known as a computer expert. But one thing I did tell them is innovation. How does innovation work? In, I think it was about 1917, I think it was, or 15 or 13 or something, there was a world, what was it called? A World's Fair in St. Louis, United States. A World's Fair that had an exhibition of so many different things, especially new technology. But as well as having just a World's Fair of technology, people had to eat. That reminds me, I should finish soon because there's lots of nice food outside, I'm sure. Are those ones sitting outside already eating it? Oh, they're very well behaved, well done. But anyway, the World's Fair, they had 2 stalls next to each other. One was the ice cream stall. The other one was American waffles. You know American waffles, like pancakes? And they were next to each other for weeks. And they started talking to one another, the waffle store and the ice cream store. Why can't we, combine? that's where the ice cream cone came from. The first time I had an ice cream cone was at St. Louis World Fair, and only because, just by chance, an ice cream seller and a waffle seller were next to each other. It's amazing, these things which can happen. And so that I started my story like that, and I said afterwards, what is this? No, it's okay, sit down, I'll just ask you questions. What is this? What else is it? Tell me more about it. Yeah, what else? Describe it some more, come on. Yeah, what else? What else? What else? What else? This is what I did to this audience in a big university in Daejeon, Seoul. And there's some really sort of high flyers in the computer industry. They didn't know what I was doing. So what is this? And I said, once you've finished with all of what you've been taught about this, all the names you've learned at school or online, maybe now you can start seeing it. Seeing it beyond all the words and descriptions you had. That's what we call innovation. You see further, deeper. And it's something as ordinary as a bottle of water. And actually you can, if there's a wind somewhere, you can put it down on a piece of paper so the piece of paper doesn't fly away or whatever. Innovation is seeing what's already there but seeing it deeper, more thoroughly. You know, even when you do your drawings at work, how do you do them? Sometimes you see deeper. You can find shortcuts, different ways of doing things, which still work. And in our modern world, innovation is so important. See an ordinary thing and see it differently. And it's not just innovation. You know what else it's called? Insight. Good Buddhist insight meditation. To see things in a different way. To see a flower pot and understand it did rise. Maybe it's true. You don't say what you see didn't happen. Little by little, that's how you become very wise. Innovation. Seeing things and don't think you know. Once you know, then you put it aside. It's just a water bottle. You go on to the next thing. You say one thing and look at it deeply. You see all sorts of things you've never seen before. They really like that. So I hadn't heard that before. That's why I got $2,000 just for chatting. I didn't get anything. That would go to the temple. We got plenty over there in the temple. So thank you for that question, the answer lasted 10 minutes or something. Another question before you go to lunch? It's a Friday, so you can sleep in the morning, can't you? You going to work tomorrow? Oh, good. I am. So, yeah. Any questions from anyone? I know sometimes you don't have to read minds, but you know what most people are thinking. When's he going to go? I want to eat. So, remember, this is what we're here for. It's in remembrance of your deceased parents, Mr. L.C. Perera, that's Matanga's father, Mr. Whittler Paris, Nayana's father, and Mr. F.C. Paris, Nayana's father. An extended blessing with good health, peace of mind, and long life to Matanga's mother, Sunanda Perera. Remembrance of all deceased relatives. Extended blessings to all living relatives, so you can live a wonderful, happy life. And if you have that happiness, again, that increases your immune response It makes you more successful in life, more happy, more attractive if you're looking for a partner in life. The happier you are. Another reason I say this, sometimes people say, why is a monk saying all of this? It's because that's what half the people here, the young people, are thinking about. It's a good thing. So you can be happy, and you don't have to be tough to be attractive, to be kind. A kind person is incredibly attractive, because that's something which is a deep beauty inside. Trustworthy, moral, virtuous, makes you very attractive. A blessing to all Sri Lanka during this tough time. Should I also bless the Sri Lankan cricket team, or we'll get into trouble again? Are they playing Australia yet? They lost. It's not my fault. I'm sorry about that. Oh dear. They didn't have any string, that's why. And blessing to all friends and their families in Perth, and all sentient beings. So snakes and scorpions and all beings, may they all be happy and well. May you can live at peace with them. Okay. Anything else I can do to serve? Is it too early? 8:30? Oh, perfect. Okay, excellent. Okay, so now I will give a blessing for you before we go, and then you can have your dinner. Okay. Sabba roga vinimuto, sabba santapa vajito, sabba veramati gando nibuto chatuang bhava, sabitio vivachantu sabba rogo vinasatu mate bhavan vantarayo sukhi gopava apivadanha sile sanichang vutta pachalino chataro dhamma vatanti ayuvano sukhang balang. Your happiness and well-being. Sometimes people give the pirikira. Please make sure you all either touch it or you celebrate it, and it's like you've given it yourself. You are brothers? Very good. No sisters? Okay. What are you doing now? What year? Oh, it's easy. What about you? You're in uni now? Which uni? Oh, what are you studying? Oh, it's just like your dad. No, it's important. Because engineering makes, obviously, so many different types of engineering. Which one are you going to do? Okay, yeah, great. I remember at Cambridge, engineers was one of the hardest. You had to work so much. Maths and physics, you either knew it or you didn't know it. That was it. Otherwise, easier time. So well done anyway. So what are you going to do? Don't know yet. Oh yes, that's good, yeah. It's great. You know, sometimes with medicine, if you can somehow find that area, why is it that sometimes people that do meditate and cancers just vanish, and all this other incredible stuff which I've seen, but it's very hard to get anyone to do some real research on it. It's there, it works, because that can really help many people, suffering from these diseases, so they don't die, and they learn so much about how to look after themselves, look after one another, and the importance of just having a good family, which is great. I'm not supposed to Nice to see you. Here we go, do a quick lesson. Some of our videos are seven times half for what you told somewhere back in Daddy Nichols on chapter 1 for wow. Good to see you. Bye. Okay. What time is it in US? 5 o'clock in the morning. Whoa, get up early, that's very good. Yay, very good. Excellent. Okay. This is a couple here in the United States. It's 5 o'clock in the morning, and they woke up especially just to say hello and to listen to some of the talk. It's wonderful to see that. Excellent. Very good. So I wish you all happiness and wonderful getting up so early in the morning. Now I'm going to be going in a few minutes, so you can go back to bed again now. Okay. Very good. So those people who've got any donations over there, please put it down over here. I'm not supposed to take it myself, but fortunately we have Lakshman over there, and he'll take it back to the monastery and look after it. You want some? Would you like chocolate or cheese? Is he okay with it? Chocolate, okay, yeah. Okay, very good, anytime. Very good. Very good. You want some too? Come on. Please excuse me for ruining your kids' teeth. Very good. Hi. Very good. Goodness gracious. Very good. Very good. Suki Hota. There we go. Excellent. Very good. Very good. Very good. Do you play cricket? Sorry? What do you do? batsman bowler? Very good. Goodness.
Also, my friend wants a photo of you.
Yeah, sure.
All right, smile.
Sorry? Okay. Okay. Excellent. I've already given the blessing, and I don't want to take up too much more of your time, because as I came in here, I saw there's some very delish. It was some, wasn't it? Delicious food. You're going to give people dinner now? Okay. So what have you got on the menu? Sri Lankan type food. Do you like Sri Lankan type food? Rice and curry, that's all. I'm sure it's very, very delicious. So please enjoy each other's company this evening. And if you don't like Sri Lankan curry, if you like cheese and chocolate, there's lots here. Is that okay? Oh, no, okay. So I'll give it just one quick blessing, then we'll go again. Nati me savanang anyang puttho dhammo sangho me savanang varang etena satchawajena sotite hotu sabada. Wishing you all happiness and well-being. And just good friendship as well, which is really important. So it's wonderful you invited so many of your friends to the house today. Well done. Congratulations.